Hi everyone, welcome to Presentation Skills Part 2 session. Today we will continue our discussion on what we have done in Part 1 in a more detailed manner as promised. We are going to use a lot of tools and techniques today, and I will show you a lot of small techniques which will improve your presentation skill, hopefully. A lot of you already know this, some of you may not, so let's try to do it, and people who don't know, they will be benefited from this one. You'll see today I have used my laptop, my screen. In addition to your monitor, you might have projectors. So it's technically is all the same, but I'll discuss the details in later. But let's do a recap on what we have discussed in part 1. What we did in part 1 is discuss almost 25 to 30 items which will help you to make your presentation better. We try to touch all the areas where you can prepare yourself before the presentation, during the presentation, and even after the presentation. Today what we did here is we created a little bit more structured way of that. If you haven't seen the presentation one, please see that. That will actually help you to relate what we are talking about today, and I will see a lot of improvements compared to the first one to this one, and it will also help you to understand that why we should use these small tools and techniques. The reason I'm going to relate this first part and part 2 because it's a fresh example. It's a fresh example. People who have seen the part 1, they can actually relate the part 1 with part 2. In part 1 you'll see that I didn't use any of the screen. I directly talk to you. I tried to explain what are the tools and techniques which is important. I didn't show you anything in the screen. So you'll see that how using screen or maybe multiple screen helps you to do that. So I'll request you to see the part 1, and then it will help you more when you watch the part 2. And let's look at the agenda of part 2. What we will do today is all the small tips and tricks that we have listed in part 1, we will put it into a structure. Basically what I do is I put them in 3 different structure, 3 different segments of the presentation where I club them together. This is what my agenda is today. So you'll see that for the presentation, especially for building your skills in the presentation, you will have to remember what you need to do. So the first segment of my presentation today is what to remember. The second part is how to prepare. So a lot of the tools and techniques that we have discussed in part 1, I will bring some of the items from part 1 and put it into the prepare section, so you will be able to relate that. Lastly, we will see what are the items that will help you to deliver a good presentation. So again, what we have discussed in part 1 of our presentation, we will see that which are the items will help you to deliver a very good presentation. So while let's say you schedule a presentation, your preparation is done, your what you need to remember, you did everything, but at the end of the day you might find that what you're supposed to deliver didn't get delivered. So we'll see that as well. So this is basically my agenda for today's session. So let's start. So first, what to remember out of that 25 to 30 items. The way I structured this is under what to remember, we should have constantly remind ourselves about what we are presenting. Doing so will help you to stay focused on the topic, focus on the result, and focus on the audience, because the audience is here knowing that this is what you are going to deliver. So if you consistently and continuously remember what you are supposed to deliver, will help you to be on the track, and you will not deviate from your delivery or the target. Then who are your audience? This is a very important part, because if you can do an audience analysis before the presentation, it will really help you to communicate with them during the presentation, because if you are presenting to a very, let's say, young generation, their expectation is different from compared to a very experienced generation, and or maybe mid-level experience. So if you know that who are you presenting to and what are their interests, age groups, where they're coming from, what they're looking or what their expectation is, that will help you to prepare your presentation in such a way that you can actually convince a larger group of people. In your presentation there might be 5 people, 10 people, 20 or 30 or even more than 100 people. When we present, our idea is to deliver the message to the larger audience. We don't want to miss out any people, right? We don't even want to miss out 5 people out of 100. So in order to do that, we need to prepare, because a lot of the people are looking for different things, and in that context, audience analysis is very important. While you're presenting, you will also see that in different interaction, some people are very interested to know numbers. Other people are very interested to know more detailed, descriptive form of presentation, and some people just want to know what's the problem and how are you going to solve it, or maybe what's the final message. They don't want to go to any details because they think that this is your job, and you're supposed to come up with the result, not with the problems. So if you know your audience, when you're interacting, you can interact based on that analysis. So people will feel that you actually know them and you are actually communicating the way they understand different information, or they interpret different information. A good example for this would be, let's say, when you're presenting to the steering committee, they probably, some steering committee members probably want to know that if your project is on track. Some want to know if it's over budget, some want to know if it's going to take more time or not, and some other might be interested to know the very detail of every single thing. So when your audience is asking questions, if you know the person, you can tweak your answer based on the particular person. So he will get his response in a very personalized manner, and you probably don't need to repeat it twice. Otherwise, the person may ask you the same question again, and it's a waste of time. So when you know your audience, you are actually enabled or equipped with that intelligence to communicate with your audience in more personalized way. So this is how your audience analysis will help. The third thing that I was talking about is content selection. The same example can be used here as well when you're actually presenting to steering committee members, or maybe when you're presenting to a audience which is not experienced and you're trying to let them know about a new technology, and if you bring too many technical stuff, they will not understand. So probably you need to bring something which is understandable to that particular audience or group of people. So when you create the content, when you select the content, you use same audience analysis, you use same objective that you have set before the presentation, you use same expectation level what you have set before the presentation to your audience, and select the content based on that. This will help you to make the audience feel more comfortable when you are delivering presentation. You will see them more engaged in the presentation, because if something they are not understanding at all, they will not respond. Probably they will take a break, go out of the presentation and come back after 10 or 20 minutes. This is a very important part as well. And it also relates to the audience analysis and your objective. The third one is also related to the fourth one, where I have talked about the facilities you have. Imagine I was talking about content selection. If your content have videos, your content have presentations, your content have leaflets, your content have printouts, these are all different part of your presentation, different type of things that are actually helping you to present. It's not just presenting the slides, what I've talked about in the first part of presentation skill. The facilities are the key elements which will help you to succeed in your presentation skill. The reason that I'm showing you this laptop today is one of that. The reason I'm showing you this screen today is one of that. The reason I've used more lights in this room is a part of that. The reason I'm using two different cameras to shoot this video is a reason for that. Also, using your mobile phone to remotely change the slide, your smartphone to remind you about time, laser pointer is example. So this all the things that you have around you is the part of the facility. Backup power, backup laptop, maybe pen drive, backup projector based on the importance of the presentation also helps. So and also you need to know how to use them. And it's not just having the facility, it's also having the right people who can help you to set up this facility is also important. You need to make sure maybe the day before or maybe an hour before that everything is working. Your laptop, lights, presentation, camera, pen drive, everything that is related to your presentation is working. So you don't want to see any hiccups during the presentation. Just to give you an example, the screen that you're seeing here in my laptop is different than the screen what you're seeing in the monitor. I'm using a presenter view and a slideshow in two different segments. Some of you might already know this, some of you don't, but let me just show you an example how it helps me to deliver good presentation. In this screen, you just see what I want you to see, which means that this title as well as 5-6 items that you see here. In this screen, there are 3 segments. I don't know if you can see it well, but you can just go to Microsoft PowerPoint and see presenters and slideshow view, and you will see that, or you can Google this facility anywhere. In here, what I see is a copy of this screen. On the top section here, what I see is what's coming next, so I already know what I'm going to present in the next slide, so I can mentally get prepared when I want to shift from slide, let's say 3 to 4. And in this section here, I can see all the notes. So when I'm talking about, let's say, what to remember, and each of these items here, like what are you presenting, your audience, your content selection, I can write small notes here. So when I'm presenting, if I look at the laptop, I can actually take examples from my notes and explain the key topics that I have written here. So usually you will see that in a presentation environment, the laptop stays in front of the presenter and this screen stays in front of the audience, or maybe projecting right behind you. So at some time you can see what's going on, or sometime you can, but let's say 100% time your audience is seeing this screen. So when you write these notes, you can actually take help from the note and you can explain your individual topics better. So this is why I actually decided to show you both the screen at the same time today. Normally when we are presenting, we don't show this screen to the audience because we wanted to see this screen, not this one. And so this is also a facility that I'm using from the office, as well as I can use my phone to install a Wi-Fi or maybe Bluetooth remote to change the slide. You can also use PowerPoint tools where you can see there is a laser pointer. If your laser pointer doesn't work, you can use this one and see the red dot here is moving based on the mouse pointer. So you can use this one as well to point in your presentation. You can also use pen to actually highlight your particular area of the presentation. You can use highlighter to mark the content. So you see that with the pen I have marked it as red, with the highlighter I marked it as yellow. At the same time, I can use my laser pointer to point to a particular section of my presentation where people can actually focus. So this is also a facility that you can actually use. Let me just erase that with eraser. Alright, so these are the facilities that you can use your presentation. So try to use all the facilities that you have. Try to use alternate facilities if the primary one is not working. Let's say today I don't have any laser pointer. What I will do, I should use Microsoft PowerPoint laser pointer to point you about let's say content number 3, right? So this is how you can use the alternative. So make sure before what to remember, this is one part, that remember to use all the facilities that you have, utilize them fully, so that you are in your best comfort zone to deliver your presentation. Then the point comes to doing a pulse check. Let's say I've been talking about last 10 to 12 minutes. Now I need to do a time check. If I'm planning to do the presentation for 30 minutes, probably I need to do a time check and see that if I'm on track, if my audience need a break, if some of them want to ask me questions, they can't ask me questions because I'm continuously talking, so probably go ahead and give them time. Do you guys have any questions, or are you with me? Check with them, check and see that if they're with you. Check and see that if they're actually paying attention to your presentation, they are actually understanding what you're talking about. At the same time, when I'm talking about a time check, you probably need to see that if you're supposed to cover 25% of your presentation slides, are you on track? Those things, as well as if you need to break, take a break. Just maybe if it's a long presentation, take a 5 minutes break, drink some water, talk different things with the participants, try to give it a good blend of different communication topics, so that they feel comfortable with you, they feel comfortable asking you questions, they feel comfortable looking at your presentation and probably writing a question down and asking you later on, or maybe sending you emails or things like that. So engage with them and help them to understand what you're trying to deliver or what you're trying to talk about. Well, the last thing you should remember is ice breaking. You can use 3-4 different types of examples to do that. You can have multiple options how you want to do that. Take 2 or 3 examples with you when you start the presentation. Try to figure out which one will be the best based on the audience, based on the mood of the audience, because today is not the same as tomorrow or maybe yesterday. So it's a different day, it's a new day, so based on that you choose your ice breaking technique. So this is where I'll close my what to remember section. So let's just do a quick recap what we have actually did in what to remember section. We have talked about what are you presenting, your audience, your content selection, the facilities that you have, how you're going to use them, different alternative techniques that you should remember about, a pulse check, and also ice breaking. So how to prepare? In the first section, what we have discussed about what to remember, and then now it's time to see how to prepare for your presentation. And the topics that I have listed under this particular section is your preparation, use of technology, handling negative energy, engaging audience, answering questions, agenda, sending invitation. You can order them in different ways, that's okay, but in order to prepare for your presentation, you need to have this. You need to make sure that your preparation covers all the areas that will help you to deliver a very good presentation. When I'm talking about your preparation, I'm talking about preparing mentally for the presentation, setting expectation for your audience, creating slides, reviewing contents, talking with different people, and see how it can be done in a very good manner, talking with the organizer and other people who are related to the presentation, as well as if you're actually using a team, talking with those person as well. So your preparation will cover all of them. When I'm talking about use of technology, it comes all hardware, all software that you are using for your presentation. If there is video slides you're showing, if you're recording your presentation, if you are creating your presentation in Office, if you're using a overhead projector, lights, cameras, remote, your laptop, your screen, speakers, microphone, any other wireless headsets, etc. There might be more things, but these are the things that you actually should check. You actually need to make sure that everything is working properly. Then some people might ask a question about why I have included handling negative energy in this portion, because if you ask my opinion, I will normally do this before the presentation. The reason behind it is I imagine all the negative things can happen or things can go wrong before the presentation. So it's like predicting the bad situation. When I can predict the bad situation, I can actually prepare for it. I can prepare to handle the bad situation, and it will help me to continue the presentation or even take proper action when that situation occurs. So when I'm talking about how to prepare, in that section I also prepare about negative energies, how I will handle them. I try to ask myself different questions, hard questions before the presentation, wrong questions before the presentation, questions that can take me to a different path, and try to answer them before even the presentation. So it helps me to prepare. It helps me to predict the bad situation, at the same time create examples or take precautions even before it happens. Engaging audience, it also comes in the preparation. The reason behind it is, like I said before, you don't want to leave 5 people out of your 100. You want to cover the entire audience. So making eye contacts. If you know somebody, call them out and ask them if they're with you. Ask the audience question about previous slide to make sure that they're actually understanding what you're delivering, or they're actually engaged in the presentation. try to cover your visual contact with all the parts of the room, not just the front row, the middle and the last row as well as ask questions from different rows. If nobody's asking question, you ask a question or try to understand what their feeling is. Just create few questions, prepare few questions before the presentation and ask them, so you know that if they're engaged in your presentation. This is very important. This is very important to ensure that they are leaving the presentation room with the message that you wanted to deliver, with the result that you wanted to deliver, with the feelings that you wanted them to have. Another part is answering questions is also in the preparation segment, because like I said, it's related to handling negative energy, because when going through the presentation, some of the questions you may not even prepare for. You need to create answers right away. So at that point of time, if you're not prepared enough to handle negative energy, it will impact your presentation, it will impact your body language, your facial expression, as well as the quality of the presentation. So when I'm talking about answering questions, before the presentation, try to ask yourself what type of questions you might face for every single slide that you're presenting. Good questions, bad questions, questions related to numbers, questions related to situation, questions related to which is not even related to your presentation at all. Try to predict what type of questions you might have and create answers before even starting the presentation. That will help you to quickly answer the questions. And if you cannot answer, just tell them that you're going to come back with the answer, or keep them in parking lot. Maybe later on you will answer them. Then it comes to preparing the agenda. You might do that all the way to the top on the list, but when it comes to agenda, you need to make sure that you're covering all the areas that you're supposed to cover. Talk to few of the related person if it's necessary to review your agenda, so that they can also give feedback and you don't miss out anything. And when you're done with the agenda, you make sure you invite all the related stakeholders of your presentation. This is sometimes gets very tricky, because if you're presenting to multinational people, which might have people from Bangladesh, Australia, UK, US, they're in different time zone. So how do you manage your presentation hour? How do you send the invitation where different time zone will not collide with each other? So use different calendars and see what is the comfortable hour. So before you send the invitation, you check that. You also check if it's possible when is a good time for you to have your presentation or the meeting or the session. You can send invitation over email, Outlook, SMS. There are a lot of ways. Try to see if people are joining your presentation, try to get a reply from them, because it will help you to understand that how many people are actually in your presentation, so you can actually prepare for it. Because presenting in front of 5 people or presenting in front of 20 people is not same, it's different. Because more people might ask you more questions, more people might require more attention, so you need to focus on a lot of people, a lot of different groups, so your audience analysis will not be the same as doing presentation in front of 5 people or in front of 20 people. So everything impacts based on the number of audience. So do that, send the invitation to all the people and try to get a reply. And that's how I think I would prepare for my presentation. And these are the important, remember, these are the important items that I've listed. There are a lot of items that I didn't list here because those are very generic, and I just tried to cover the most important areas which I believe is helpful for your preparation. So this is the part, section 2 of the presentation skills under part 2. The last section that I will cover is what will help you to deliver. Because let's say we prepared ourselves, we remember all the things that we need to do, we have all the right tools, right techniques, but still some point you realize that your delivery is not according to the expectation. So I've listed a few items which are important, which I've also talked about in part 1. So let's talk about it in details. So let's just go through the list first, and then I will talk about one by one. Do you need more time, or do a time check during the presentation? Room temperature, external factors that can influence your presentation. Are you on the driving seat? Taking a break if necessary, because if it's a very long presentation, it's better to take 5 minutes break, so that people don't get stretched, and they can concentrate on your presentation. Then is it getting too serious? In different presentation, based on discussion, based on questions, based on answers, it might get very serious. Some people lose control, some people do not behave the way they're supposed to, some people will overreact, and even you will find it difficult to continue the presentation based on the situation. So how you deal with that, and even understanding the situation is not right, you need to change the situation so that it's helpful for you to continue the presentation. Then presenting yourself, clothing, facial expression, body language, and etc. Feedback is a very key important part when you're presenting, because it matters a lot. Based on feedback you can improve yourself. Based on feedback you can later on communicate with your audience and tell them, okay, this is what you wanted to hear from me, here it is. Or maybe send out an email, send out different files, PDF. So many things can be done based on feedback. So I always appreciate feedback. So it's a very important part for your presentation. Also when you complete the presentation, because constructive feedback is very, very necessary for continuous improvement. I admit that a lot of people do not know how to give feedback and what type of feedback will help you to improve, but do not stop yourself thinking about that. Take feedback, if necessary, filter them out, but keep them on your list. Probably it will help you to increase the audience coverage. And finally, what I think we all should do is enjoy our presentation, because if we cannot enjoy our presentation, we will not deliver good presentation. At the same time, we will not deliver what we're supposed to deliver. And when we are engaging with audience, when we are reading through slides, our facial expression, our gestures, listening, everything will affect if we do not enjoy our presentation. So make sure that you're enjoying your presentation. Try to make sure that your audience is also enjoying the presentation. You can throw different jokes if it requires. Based on the audience analysis, you can do different things to keep it entertaining. And it is your responsibility as a presenter to make sure that your presentation is going with the right flow. So this is, I believe, will help us to deliver a very good presentation and the right message to the audience. And finally, this is where I have shown you the structure that I normally try to remember during the presentation, also before the presentation and after the presentation. You'll see in the screen I have shown you 1, 2 and 3. So for any presentation which takes, let's say, half an hour, an hour, or maybe 2 hours, 8 hours, I try to break them in different sections. Even though I have shown you 3 different sections, but it can be more based on your comfort zone. But just to give you an idea how I do that is what I need to do before the presentation. So it's like making a checklist and see that if I've done all the right things. Then during the presentation, so there is a transition period when you do that. When you start the presentation, when you're continuing the presentation, what we need to do. So it's like I said before, engaging the audience, doing time check, making sure they're responding to your presentation, they're attentive to your presentation, they're answering your question, as well as they're asking you questions, so that you know that people are actually listening. All these things will come under this little area. So when you're delivering your presentation, you try to remember all these things. And finally, when you go to the section where you completed your presentation, or maybe the session or the meeting, you ask for feedback, or you ask any other questions that you have left out, or you maybe forgotten. If you need to send out an email, a summary, a PDF, or other different things, you need to do that sort of checklist. So if you can create your own checklist which needs to be done before the presentation, during the presentation and after the presentation, that will actually help you to improve day by day to deliver a very good presentation. I have given you a few examples in 3 different sections. You can take them, you can search or talk to other experienced people what they use to deliver a very good presentation, and you can make your own checklist, and you can see how you're preparing for each of these items. At the beginning it will look a very big checklist, but trust me, after some time, when you continuously practice, it will become very small. You don't even have to remember that you need to do a time check. It will come automatically. You don't have to remember that you need to continuously do eye contact. You need to ask question. You need to engage your audience. This will come very naturally. And also talking in front of people will come very naturally when you're practicing this continuously. So this is I think more or less is my experience on giving a good presentation. There are a lot of things that I also need to improve. There are a lot of things that I also think that I can change to deliver a very good presentation, which I'm continuously working on. But as a human being, we also have our limitations, which sometimes we cannot overcome. But this shouldn't stop us from trying harder and harder. Wish you all the best, and thank you for watching. This will end my session on presentation skill. Thank you.